All right. Hello, everybody. And this is Leah with Never Lost. And I am here with Hamish Stansfeld. And it's really cool to connect with him because I saw you speaking with Walter and Don Garland, and you were talking about the Kundalini. And that was just a huge pivotal change in my life. And so I felt really compelled to reach out to you because I feel like there's people speaking about it, but it's nice to like hear other experiences and the diversity of what a Kundalini could be. And I think it might be helpful for others to hear experiences because they might be going through a rough time with it, processing what a Kundalini is. I know for
Mhm.
myself, it was
Yeah,
like, what is this?
yeah.
So I wanted to bring attention to the Kundalini with Hamish. So thank you so much for doing this, Hamish.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, yeah. So you had your first Kundalini experience like how long ago?
So it's been continuous. I don't really describe it as a series of experiences because it's been continuous and ramping up the whole. But
Mhm.
it was a year. It was over a year ago. A year and a few months. It was last winter, like in October or something like that. Or yeah, basically a year and a bit ago.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
so I was listening to a lot of non-duality and this type of stuff for a while, and which I found initially very confronting, and kind of got used to it, and I started to feel more and more peaceful. So I would look forward to coming home at the end of the day. I used to drink a lot, and so I'd crack open a beer and listen to a non-dual speakers, and just kind of I started to feel more and more peaceful, and I never really understood it, and I still don't really. But at the same time, I started doing very hardcore yoga in a hot sauna, like really pushing my
Oh,
body physically more than I'd ever done before, and lots of like breathing and I'd heard of Kundalini. I didn't really know what it was, and someone told me about it, and they said, "Oh, there's places you can go to, to kick off that energy to get it moving in the body." And I remember thinking about it, and then going, I don't really know what it is. But anyway, so around this time when all this was going on, I had a really successful yoga session where I kind of realized what it was called, like Vipassana flow, and I kind of realized what the whole thing was about. So because
yeah.
it's so hot in the sauna, I would tend to pant in between movements. But obviously, I guess I built up my strength. And I had this one teacher, and she was on this particular day, she was very just functional. She was like, do that, do this, do that, and I just found myself doing exactly what she said and just breathing through the movement. So I'd go like, and then, and then, and then and it was all just I was like, oh, this is flow, this is how it's supposed to be for the first time. And then I lay down on the ground and I felt really blissed out afterwards. I didn't really know, sometimes they talk about consciousness, and I didn't really know anything about that, but I just thought, I feel good, I feel blissed out, I feel great.
Mhm.
And I think the reason I did that in the first place was because I planned to do some psychedelics in the evening. I was going to take some edible gummy bears and stuff, which I did.
Oh no.
And then I started tripping really hard, and I took a lot of stuff in the end. I was taking LSD as well. I've always been a bit hardcore with my tripping, like I've always
Oh,
pushed
that's
things
interesting.
a little
Yeah,
bit too
yeah.
far. You
Me
push the
too.
boundaries a bit.
I
All
went through
right,
that period. Yeah, I went through
okay.
that period too. Yeah.
Yeah, and to the point where I
Interesting.
drive myself quite nutty a lot of the time because I'm a bit nutty. I would just do it again like a month later, even though it was clearly, you know, a bit mad. But
Yeah.
anyway, on this occasion, no, I was tripping really hard, but I just felt good. And to be honest, I think I was about to watch porn or something like that, or I had that inclination to go and watch boobs or something, and something in me just said, "Nah, you know what? I'm good. Like screw it. I feel great. And then I started shaking, and there was this huge knot in the back of my neck, really, really big knot. I didn't know it was there.
Yeah.
Started to just physically undo, and I was like, "What is happening here?" I was just started shaking, and
Oh
that
my.
happened all the way down my spine, knot after knot after knot. And at some point,
Wow.
I fell onto the floor like a puppet. It was like kind of hanging off the bed,
Yeah.
and it felt like I almost remembered like a sound, almost like air being let out of a valve or something, like this kind of, and I just felt this deep peace. and I didn't know what it was, but it felt like the kind of energy in me effervesced, or attention kind of just left. And I kind of came to, and I didn't know what had happened. And I remember listening to music, like I love Pink Floyd, and I was just kind of raving to it. I was just kind of going, like this energy was just coming through. I was like, where is this coming from? And I didn't feel like I was doing it, but it was like this passion was just coming through. I was like, what the hell is going on? and then, and and then I went to the pub. I remember it because it was the day of the Queen's funeral in London. So there was this
Oh,
big
yeah.
parade, and we were going to watch it on the TV. In the end, we just sat around, didn't really watch it. And I just felt really loose, really loose. And at the time, I wasn't thinking about Kundalini. I thought it was like a drug, the drug experience, the psychedelic experience had come to loosen my body. So I was telling my friends, I
Yeah.
was like, I had this trip the other, last night. It was incredible. Like I feel just really, loosey goosey. And then a week afterwards, I was watching. I have a lot of friends who are dancers, and I'm an actor, so a lot of my friends are like
Ah,
actors, performers, this kind of thing.
I couldn't tell.
All right, right. and and then so I was watching a burlesque show, which I love. It's just something I really enjoy. I had a
Oh,
friend.
yeah. Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
yeah. And
cool.
then yeah, and then my shoulder just started rotating by itself, and that's when I went, oh, this is still happening. Like whatever that was a week ago was still
Um,
going on, and I felt like super present, and everything was like this mental clarity. And if I got out of a chair, it was just kind of like I'm up, or like I'm walking over there, like everything just had this totally different energetic feel to it, and it still
yeah.
does, I guess.
Wow.
And that was it. And then since then, my body's just been completely rearranging itself. I think I had a dislocated shoulder at the time, and I was lying in bed, and my arm went into the air and just relocated it. It just went crick, 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 crack, and put it back in place.
Wow.
I've reached severe acid reflux, and that I can just if I put my hands on my body now, it will start healing it like that, and it just goes. It's been rearranging of my teeth, like my finger went into my mouth. I
Yeah.
had like these wisdom teeth coming out, which is quite rare for someone. I've just turned 40. And the
Yeah.
dentist said it might be a problem to remove them because I could lose the feeling in my jaws. So I was a bit concerned about it. And then the Kundalini like would just get my finger and go put it in my mouth and like pull on stuff and rearrange it. This total physical readjustment has been
Oh
going
my
on for
gosh.
over a year now. I know, completely insane, insane. So I'm still every day I wake up and I still can't believe like this is still going on because I can't quite believe it. It's
Yeah.
still I still expect to wake up and just be normal and then just spontaneous mad stuff starts happening.
Wow, that's unreal.
It's
It's like
full
your
on.
body's like an electrical conduit right now.
Yeah, I think that's the way it's going, and more and more so. Yeah,
Have you
yeah.
ever thought about becoming a healer? I mean, this is
Yeah,
amazing.
sort of. Yeah, because I can heal
Yeah.
myself really easily. I just have to
You
put my
can do it
finger
to
where it
others
hurts.
too.
Sorry.
Yeah. You
And,
can,
and
yeah, you can bring that gift to others. That's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah,
Yeah.
I probably should really. And like I work with kids a lot at a nursery. I
Do
do little
you?
shows for them, little performances with puppets and physical theatre.
Yeah.
And and I just started to wonder if there was a little girl came up to me and she said, "Oh, my ear hurts," and I just put my finger on her ear, and my finger just started moving and stuff, and I was like, oh, "Shit, I think I'm healing her." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Did that feel better?" She was like, yeah, yeah." I was also like, "I think I probably can. I just haven't experimented." And I think part of it is, it's a weird thing to talk about with people that there's not that many people that would believe what you're
Yeah.
saying. So
Yeah.
I don't know. There are a few people I know who have got the same energy. And we, I go to a lot of meetings with Dawn Garland, and so I've met people with Kundalini, but not that many. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't know how to go about becoming a healer or how to set that up or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, maybe that's the way things will go. I don't know.
It
It's quite
seems
extraordinary.
like that. It's
Yeah.
interesting because prior to my Kundalini, I was very plugged in and like doing the healing like that. But I had gone through, acupuncture school, Reiki, got
Mm-hmm.
certified as, a Reiki master and all that. So I was working with energy. So when the Kundalini came, it was just natural to kind of use that in the practice
Oh,
with
interesting. Yeah.
people. Um, but it's interesting though, because, coming upon radical non-duality, it was almost like negating form and
Yeah.
negating those gifts. It was just like
Yeah.
kind of
I know.
reductionism of all the goodness what the body
Yeah,
can do.
yeah,
And and now it's like going back to practice is like feeling into people's energy and moving, and like everything is
yeah,
energy, right? It's
yeah,
constantly
yeah,
ebbing and flowing, getting stuck, moving, like the
yeah,
body's
yeah.
incredible. And like just how the Kundalini like arises, like I'll tell you, prior to the Kundalini, I didn't believe in chakras or energy
Me
centers
neither
and that,
at
like,
all.
you too?
Yeah, it's not that I didn't believe in them. I just it didn't come into. I haven't really thought about it. I just thought, well, I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. It's kind of woo woo. Sounds woo woo, you know. but but then yeah, it's
And then this hits you and you're like, whoa, maybe they knew something about something because this is
100%. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's incredible. So like now you feel the energy just ramping up and flowing in the body.
Insane. It's insane. It really is far out, and I like, but and it has an aggressiveness to it. Like it wants this energy. It's I think it's going to blow the top of my head open, and that's what they
Oh
say.
my
I think
God.
that's what they say, and
Oh no,
in the
I
old
hope
text.
not.
I think this because it's just hit. It's like it hits my, and I've been practicing a semen retention recently. So
Okay.
that just came about. I don't. It's not something I recommend, but
Yeah.
it was almost like the universe was giving me cues to give it a try. And then
Hmm.
the energy went crazy because it is, they say it's a sexual energy, and that's becoming
Yeah.
more and more obvious. Like at the
Yeah.
beginning, I just felt like energy, and now the connection between the sex organ and the brain is becoming more and more obvious as this kind of line between the sex and the crown,
Yeah.
and it's just a sexual thing. It's just it's been turned in the other direction, and I
Yeah.
was someone who was a bit obsessed with sex, to be honest. That desire was really, really strong in me, and it's
Yeah.
almost like it's just turned in on itself, and it's just going bananas. But it's
Wow.
beautiful to observe it. It's healing, but it's got a kind of scary, almost aggression to it, where nothing. I'm banging my head. I'm like going, ow, ow, because it's just trying so hard to push up and out.
Mm, that's interesting. I found when I had yeah. So okay, going back to that, it feels like very orgasmic. The first couple that I had were not. They were very traumatic.
Right.
And the last one I had, it literally felt like a full body orgasm, like
Cool.
so explosive and like the whole I you don't even understand how the whole body can orgasm.
Yeah, I've
It's
heard about this and not experienced it, but yeah.
wow, it's incredible. Like,
Yeah,
but I found it happened in a moment where I was so relaxed and not trying anything.
sure, sure.
And when I feel it ramping up and I get anxious and I like contract and it's like, get out of
Right.
me, it
Yeah.
feels like it just keeps festering in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then, like, in the moments where you're just so relaxed and just
Mm-hmm.
fully present and letting go, it
Yeah.
just, it
Yeah.
just, do you notice that too? It just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think I've always been very relaxed as a character, and I think that's helpful for this energy to come through. I used to
Uh,
practice something called Alexander when I went to drama school, Alexander technique. I don't know if you've heard about that. It's all about you kind of
no.
ask. It's an old ancient tradition. They use it a lot for performers. Like you ask your neck rather than because most people hold so much tension in their neck and shoulders. You don't notice it's there until you put your attention on it. You go, oh, I'm walking
Right.
around like this, so you kind of loosen everything up. So
Yeah.
I've always been naturally good at that. So in those classes, if someone would hold my hand up and let it go, it would just drop to the floor. Was most people have a little bit of tension. Mine would just go
Yeah.
thump. So I was always a little bit like that anyway. So I think when Kundalini came in, it's kind of thinking, oh, this guy's so malleable because he's very relaxed. So I think that's why it can just kind of, there's not a lot of
Uh,
tension, I think.
oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So you're able to let go.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
that's huge. Did you notice like any life changes with your Kundalini? Because like for me, for instance, um, I went through a dramatic, like I would say, it's hard to pinpoint time wise, but maybe like 3 months. I
Mm.
couldn't be around people. I was walking in the woods, just waves of heavy, like I thought I was like dying, like these emotions, like I couldn't stand it, like
Yeah.
breaking me down.
Mm.
And yeah, how was it for you?
Similar, and so I was working at this nursery with these kids, and I just kept after that moment I described with the knots coming off and then the spontaneous movements, I was still going to work, and I
Yeah.
was just felt like I was just falling into these expansive states at my job, and that was getting too much because these kids wanted my attention. They're pulling on me, and
Oh
I'm quite a
yeah.
fun-loving character, so they tend to surround me and stuff. And I just thought, I can't. I need to figure out what's happening here, So I left
Yeah.
work for a long period of time, and then things, I call that phase I had a name for the twilight zone. I just felt like I was in the twilight zone and I think it was only those extreme psychedelic trips that I had where I was really pushing at the boundaries of reality that helped me get through this, because it was so
Yes. I say
weird,
the same thing. The
really.
psychedelics, like learning to like surrender in the craziest
Yeah,
moments, really
yeah,
prepared
yeah.
me for this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I think
Yeah.
that's why it happened. I think for a lot of people it's probably slower, but I think I was able to change gears quicker because I was kind of in a way comfortable with a bit of madness. I was like,
Yeah.
it's okay, just go, even though it was so insane. And I was just, I mean, I can't even remember a lot of that time, but it was just extraordinarily weird. And especially that when I started doing that on my head, and that happens all the time,
Really?
a year on, I keep doing that. My arms just do that, and sometimes it's really pronounced and it scabs over, and then the
Yeah.
scab goes and it leaves a line, and then it just starts all over again. That's one of the main things the energy does, either with two hands like that, or one hand like that, or one side and then the other side, all the
Wow.
way up to the crown, so the third eye area. It's really intense. And obviously
Yeah.
then when that started happening, I was like, Jesus, am I the Messiah? What's going on here? These thoughts happen to you, like, am I supposed to be saving the planet? But then the energy kept kind of kept kind of correcting me, but it is confused. I'm still confused. I have no clue
Oh,
what's going on.
yeah.
It's just all you can do is just go with it, really. But yeah, and people seem to notice at work there's a change, and yeah, I had a whole phase where I started reading about magic. I realized that if you go into a lot of these bookshops, they're kind of like Harry Potter
Yeah.
bookshops,
Yeah.
but like
We
the
have
original
those.
like
Yeah.
magic
Like the
shops.
occult. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and I realized that a lot of that was to do with Kundalini. They call it in the magic text. They call it the fire. They refer to it as fire snake. They say, and depending on the
The snake movement. Yeah.
yeah, depending on your level or whatever, the fire snake, then certain magicians or whatever just you use that energy for. Uh, I mean, I think ultimately all those things are conduits to self-realization, but I think some people use them just for what's the word, getting stuff they want, manifestation and all that kind of thing. But so I'm not massively into it, but I am interested. So I do find myself in those shops looking at symbols and things like that sometimes. So,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Yeah, it is a
Yeah.
rabbit hole. I got into it a bit too much at the beginning. I was just got a bit crazy, and in the end, I just kind of. But it comes back sometimes. I see little symbols sometimes, and then I find them
Yeah.
later in books and weird phenomena.
Yeah, it's interesting because now, like, I feel like I'm pulled back into duality
Right,
because it's not separate from the non-dual and the
right. I get
dual.
that.
So it's like you can
Yes,
play in
yes,
duality. And
yes,
so, like, all these things that I pushed aside for a while, it's like,
yes, yes,
oh, I can play with energy
yes,
and manifestation, all these things that show
yeah.
up in this reality,
Right, without
It's
the
not
feeling that it's wrong or that it shouldn't be that
right. It's
way.
not
Yeah,
negating these
100%,
things because they're
100%.
all just they're happening,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's fun to play and tap into the mystical
yeah,
side and
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
So
exciting. Yeah.
yeah, that's so interesting. So now like you're just working through like, well, not necessarily working through, but the energy's still moving through the body and you're
Yeah,
still very
with
much in
great
it.
force at the beginning, kind of like you had this real emotional at the beginning. There's lots of crying, just crying and crying and crying, and just
Oh,
weeping in
interesting.
bed and listening to like there was a whole point where I would think of a song and then I would play that song and I would just cry
Oh,
and a lot of that. But now it's almost entirely physical. Like it feels like the energy is kind of vibrating. It's got a passion to it, like a real passion, and it's just moving the body with you know, woof, woof, you know, just you know, like it feels like I'm turning into a superhero. I'm not gonna lie, that is
Oh my
like some sort of
gosh.
X-Man or something. That's what it feels like, being completely honest.
What do you, what does your friends and family say?
I haven't told them. I mean, like, it's really
Oh,
weird. Yeah, because it's so extreme. I just don't know if they would believe it even. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I wrote a book. Maybe I could plug it. It's called The Hierophant or The Way of the Fool. It's on Kindle. But I'm hoping to get a paperback at some point. And my family have read it, so they know I was considering, I guess, weird ideas like no self, and I talk about Buddhism, I talk about Jesus, and so they've read that, so they know I'm kind of a little bit out there in that sense. And I think they've seen the mark. Whenever I go home to my family, they live in France. It's not like I see them all the time. Like my close family live in France. So, and when I go on holiday, if a mark's really pronounced, sometimes I'll wear a hat, or I'll just refuse if during those times, if my hand goes to my head, I'll just take it down because I just don't want. But I think they've seen. I went to a wedding, and I'm pretty sure in the photos you can see. I think they're aware that something's going on, but I just haven't said to them, look, I'm having something called a Kundalini awakening, and this is where the information is. I don't know. I've just always chickened out. And some people have said to me, you know, people are just not going to understand it. They're not, and the amount of questions that I would get and the
Yeah.
concerns and things like that, it just, I think it would play on my mind. So for now, I mean, if it happens, it happens. But for now, I've only told a few people, other than people like Dawn Garland, Walter, you know, people that in that kind of community know about it. And then in terms of my friends, I can only think of three right now that I've told that didn't have anything to do with non-duality or Kundalini, and they were just close mates.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I would think like being in Britain, it's maybe a little more closed off, but where I
Mm.
live, it's close to Asheville and it's like the
Oh,
mecca of healers and
is it? Oh,
spirituality. So
right.
like if
Oh,
you
that's
say
cool.
Kundalini here, they'll go, wow, you have
Oh,
one. I want
oh,
one.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's nice. I like that. Yeah, it's not like that at all here. Not at all.
No.
Nah, different vibe. Yeah, unfortunately. That's cool. Yeah.
Well, cool. I'm gonna end the recording part. We can
Okay,
chat, but thank you so much for doing
you're
this
welcome.
this part. Really incredible to interview you and put this out there into the world, and much appreciated. Oh, also, I
Absolutely.
want to ask you, did you want to plug anything? Did you want to talk
Well,
about no?
yeah, sure. I've got a website, a YouTube channel. It's just called Kundalini and Non-Duality, so that you can see me going through all these movements. And I post a video, on average, a video every couple of weeks or something like that. Whenever there's like a ramp up and some new crazy stuff happens, like the standing yoga, I haven't posted anything of that yet, but I will. And then there's a few little interviews, kind of like this with Dawn Garland interviewing me, and then sometimes I'll just talk to camera a little bit. But it's mostly movement, spontaneous movement.
Yeah,
Mm.
beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.